Epilogue. Captain Reginald Archer watched the Red Spark pull away with the freighter wreck in tow. His hand on a lit cigar, he brought it to his lips and took a long and steady puff. The smoke drifted its way up towards the ceiling and slowly dissipated. No sound was made but the very tiny noise of burning wrapper and tobacco leaf. I only knew them for one day. One damn day. And I already miss them. Especially their captain. What a woman. Female? Delamison? Do they even distinguish between sex in their language? He thought it over and took his cigar out of his mouth, holding it over the granite ashtray. He watched the long pole of ash slowly break and fall away. What a captain. He settled on the phrase. As the red spark began to vanish out of view, he opened the comm channel to the weapons crew. Send them off with a gun salute. It's the least we can do for our friends, and for a crew crazy enough to take on 12 Zinni cutters. Reginald gave the order gladly, though with an unexpected ache in his heart as he watched the distance grow. And a captain skilled enough to keep that up for longer than anyone had a right to, he mentally added. The guns began to blast, and plasma erupted, lighting up the endless dark of the void in which they all lived in, their bright white glow flaring like stars going supernova and reflecting off the sides of the red spark. As the ship finally went out of view, Captain Archer went to his desk and sat down. One damn day, he muttered and blinked back tears. Meeting them again was virtually impossible, so this first meeting was assuredly their last, which in its own way was like death, forever parted by a void that nobody could cross. He took a deep breath and opened his log to route everything back to the fleet command. On this day, September 19th, in the year 2520, I report the conclusion of an encounter of the likes I have never had in all my years of service. A singularly unexpected event with a people that formed a nigh instant kinship with our soldiers and common sailors of the void. It took hours to relay it all, and when he finished he reached for his glass of water. Even if he wasn't on duty, he thought as the clear water touched his lip, we gave them months' worth of our alcohol supply. We'll be on rations until we get another resupply. Worth it, though. Worth it. To think of them being themselves that way, he let out a hearty laugh that his machine knew not to record, and finished his recording. And it is in my view that when we open the doors of diplomacy to the wider galaxy, we should begin with the government of Delamissa, and ensure that when the day comes that we begin to allow earnest cultural exchange and visits to our home, that at least one or two of those allowed to stay on Earth would come from that world. I cannot say what outcome any choice may bring, but I believe that the path to the greatest prosperity for humanity among the stars will come about through coming to know them, and them coming to know us. If this experience is the norm, then one day we will be more than friends. Our people will be family. He tapped the red "In Record" button and looked out into the stars again. Captain Archer hoped to get one last look at the red spark. But even if the gun salute was not over, the ship was now well out of sight for the naked eye, and he knew in his soul, I may never see them again, but I will never ever forget them. He watched anyways, wanting the impossible, until duty called and he couldn't watch no more. He set his cigar down in the ashtray to expire and ventured out onto the bridge again. Set a course for the remains of the Zinni outpost. If they had one big enough to support a fleet of 12 teardrops in the area, chances are they have more smaller outposts elsewhere. We may be able to find some intel, and we've got some friends out here to watch out for who may need it. To avoid them, right, sir? His navigation officer asked, as the course was laid in and the trio of ships began to move. Captain Reginald Archer cocked his head and let slip a crooked smile. Naturally. What else would they do with any intelligence but avoid the trouble? Various predatory smiles formed on all of their own faces, and the human ship began to move. In the weeks after the departure of the human vessels, the Red Spark had changed considerably. The weapons are the strongest on the market. Short of taking and refitting some of those Zinni military ships, this is the best we can do, ma'am. Lieutenant Oberon replied to her question about weapon readiness, but when he saw her stare, he wagged his tail. Of course, if we stumble across an authentic Zinni battleship, or some equivalent, and if we manage to get an intact weapons array, I could refit them if we had the dock to work in, he pointed out, and Captain Bonnie clapped him on the shoulders while her own tail wagged excitedly. It just so happens that we got a transmission warning us of some Zinni battleships being constructed in the Scabland cluster, and telling us we should definitely not go anywhere near them. Sadly, our next jump is going to take us close, so we'll have to exercise all due caution once we leave port, she replied, and Oberon quickly tapped on his datapad. I'll make sure our weapons are pinpoint accurate, Captain, he promised. Good lad. Now work is nearly over, so get the others ready to shut down. We're going to play a French pirate film tonight, and hopefully the tailor is done in time for us to try a few things. She tapped a little gold ring on her now pierced ears. All 8 of them, causing them to briefly jingle. I was right. These do look great. Agreed, ma'am. And on the other matter, the engineering crew has chosen to keep the names the humans gave us. When we have our immortal fame, it won't be with the names from Dalamasa, but the ones given by our friends. Let history speak for itself, he said, and Bonnie briefly growled at the memory of the communication that sparked a mass resignation. Let it be so. Now don't take too long. I just need to get my translator removed before I start. And that won't take long. But by the time I land on Earth, I'll be using their own language, even if it's a little old-fashioned compared to the modern variant. Let historians make of that what they will, she wagged her tail, and when Oberon gave her a salute, she left him behind to get ready for an evening of movies. And lots of rum.